There was a day, even long before this Toyota 4Runner, when 4x4s meant strictly a macho image. Only guys with dusty boots drove them, and never on city streets. Oh my, how times have changed. The sport utility is now the fastest growing segment of the market, and it's even acceptable to wear tennis shorts while driving one, and you can even drive them on the city streets. In fact, I remember Jim Kenzie once said that the closest most people get to the country when driving a sport utility is when they throw a bag of peat moss in the back. Well, anyway, this week we're going to look at the popularity of the 4x4 and ask two questions. One, when they are driven off-road, are they being driven responsibly? And two, are consumers and manufacturers wasting their money on 4x4 technology? The first 4x4 test drive on this program was during an episode of Motoring 88. Graham Fletcher was behind the wheel of a Nissan Pathfinder, and he elected to take the vehicle into a shallow stream to demonstrate its off-road handling. Shortly after this, we received a letter from a viewer in British Columbia who expressed concern over possible environmental damage caused by these vehicles. Although Motoring carefully selects its off-road locations, this viewer is certainly not the only concerned citizen. Auto journalist Bert Coates, seen here driving an off-road course he designed himself, actually formed a company to promote responsible driving.
Tread Lately is a new national association dedicated to helping educate recreational land and water users. Now, by recreational users, we mean 4x4 operators, motocross people, trail bicycles, cross-country skiers, snowmobilers, anybody who basically uses trails in the outdoors in the wilderness areas, trying to get them to do it in an environmentally friendly manner. Basically, a lot of people are under the misconception that you have to have tons of horsepower and a greatly elevated suspension in order to traverse most of the terrain in Canada. Well, you don't really need that. A stock vehicle will cover a lot of the terrain, and really it's the technique of how you drive that, how you utilize that power, how you sensibly maintain your speed and your momentum, and basically avoiding the obstacles and looking far enough down the track to keep yourself out of trouble.
Speaking of trouble, this past winter saw a group of journalists, including Motoring's Graham Fletcher, gather to participate in what had been designed as a comparison of off-road vehicles. It wasn't long before the event turned into a good example of what can go wrong if drivers misjudge the capabilities of their vehicles and the territory.
So just give me a brief description of what happened.
Well, you know, you forced me to over press the car to get you a dramatic shot.
The real story.
That is the real story. This is the U-Haul picture without the U-Haul. So I was just trying to ask what this cameraman asked me to do, give him some footage, you know, and I lost control of it. I hit this. I'm standing on about a 12-inch bump in the road here, and I hit it, and I just went off the road, lost total control.
So what are you going to do now?
I'll go home and tell my mother. We should just all stand around and be grateful we didn't hit that tree there. Well, that's one of the risks you run when you come out here and do this kind of stuff, and why you should never do it by yourself, because if we had another vehicle here to go get a rope or a chain and then hook it up to, we would have been stuck. And tow trucks don't come to get you when you're stuck out here in the piney woods.
You must put the tow hook in somewhere where you're not going to rip the frame off. If we put it around the rear axle, we'll just pull it straight out of the frame.
I don't think the people who buy these things use them at all for what they can do. I've heard various statistics, anywhere from 90 to 95% of the people who use them never take them off-road. And their definition of off-road includes the gravel driveway leading up to the country club or the cottage, you know. I mean, where we are now, if you ask somebody to come out here in one of their vehicles, they would think you were crazy because there's no stores here. So, you know, why would they do that?
there is certainly a validity in producing this style of vehicle, but given that they're underused, I think they're expending far too much money in the marketplace where it really isn't needed. They'd do better off designing some perhaps better smaller commuter cars with a four-wheel drive system in. You know, something like the small Subaru Justy is an ideal vehicle.
Okay, boys.
I think essentially they could be sold for a lot less for what they're used for, which apparently is suburban women sitting in the third lane of a three-lane highway, the outside lane, blocking traffic because they feel more secure. They could do that for about 2/3 of the cost of what these things are now. And I think the people who actually go off-roading, if they want to do that, they should be able to buy a vehicle more designed for that. You know, maybe pay extra or a separate kind of vehicle. There's no point in designing these vehicles that can go to the North Pole. And if you wanted them to do suburban shopping. I mean, the people who make the rodeo, for example, call it a mall assault vehicle. I mean, they know exactly what the thing's about. For those people who want to do this kind of silliness, they should pay extra like everyone else.